Welcome into the Sporting News 2022 NBA Mock Draft. With the NBA Draft just days away, I'm here to guide you through my projections for the first 14 picks, giving you an idea of how things may shake out in the lottery on draft night. Let's get right into it. The Orlando Magic have the number 1 pick in the NBA Draft, and I like Auburn freshman Jabari Smith Jr. there. He fills a need at power forward, and he's one of the best two-way players in this class, and I also think he has the potential to be the number 1 scorer the Magic have been looking for ever since Dwight Howard left. So without further ado, Jabari Smith is the first name off the board. At number 2, the Oklahoma City Thunder already have their backcourt of the future in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Josh Giddey, and I think they're going to try and build up their front court with a player like Chet Holmgren, a freshman out of Gonzaga. They don't have a two-way interior presence like Holmgren, who can protect the rim, he can score out of the post, and he can step outside and knock down threes. I think Chet Holmgren, alongside SGA and Giddey, starts to build a good core with all the assets that Sam Presti's acquired so far. The Rockets are picking 3rd, but I think they're going to end up with the best player in this draft class in Paolo Banchero, a freshman out of Duke. Last year, they took Jalen Green, a prolific scorer who saw a ton of attention from opposing defenses, and Paolo Banchero will only make life easy for him because he can score on his own and play make for others. I think Banchero is going to help expedite the rebuild process in Houston, and they're going to end up with a great player at number 3 here. The Sacramento Kings are in kind of a tough spot at number 4 because they just cleared a logjam in their backcourt after trading Tyrese Haliburton and Buddy Hield away this past season, but I don't see how you pass on a player of Jaden Ivey's caliber. Even though they already have De'Aaron Fox running the show, Ivey and Fox can make one of the fastest backcourts in the country, and they both play really well off of all-star forward Domantas Sabonis. For a franchise that's trying to make the playoffs and they're in full talent acquisition mode, the Kings have to go with Jaden Ivey at number 4. At number 5, the Pistons should have had a top 3 pick based on odds, but even though they dropped to the 5th spot, I think Shaedon Sharpe is still going to end up being a great player for what they need. The Pistons already have a great playmaker and scorer in Cade Cunningham, and when you add a prolific scorer like Shaedon Sharpe next to him, it's only going to make life easier. I think Shaedon Sharpe playing alongside Cade Cunningham and a sharpshooter like Saddiq Bey could really thrive in that environment, and that's 3 really good offensive players to build around moving forward. At number 6, the Pacers would be lucky to see Keegan Murray fall past both the Kings and the Pistons because he fits a need at power forward. He can score from all 3 levels of the floor, and he'd be awesome next to playmakers like Tyrese Haliburton and Malcolm Brogdon, but he'd also be a good defensive presence next to a player like Miles Turner. I think Keegan Murray, if he makes it to number 6, would be a dream draft scenario for the Pacers. The Trailblazers are going to try and fit Damian Lillard's win now timeline, and I think G League Night product Dyson Daniels is the perfect player for that because of how good he is on the defensive end. The Blazers need defense, and Daniels is one of the most versatile defenders in this draft class as a 6'8" point guard. He can play on or off the ball, meaning he'd fit seamlessly next to Lillard and Anthony Simons, making him a great pick for the Blazers here. At number 8, the Pelicans already have plenty of shot creators in players like CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram, and they have Zion Williamson coming back, so they could use a sharpshooter to space the floor a little bit, and I think Bennedict Mathurin is the right guy for them. He brings an attitude on both sides of the ball, and I feel like he's the type of player that would fit really nicely with this quickly growing core that we saw make an impressive run in the NBA playoffs. At number 9, I really like Memphis freshman Jalen Duren for the San Antonio Spurs. They already have a rim protector in Jakob Poeltl, but he's going to be a free agent next season, and Duren's better suited with the pace and speed that the Spurs want to play with anyway, with players like DeJounte Murray and Keldon Johnson. At number 10, I think the Wizards would wish that there was a true point guard available for them, but I think Johnny Davis is the right guy to try and fill out that backcourt next to Bradley Beal. Even though he's not a true point guard, he can play with or without the ball in his hands, and he brings an intensity and winner's mentality to the defensive end that the Wizards could really use. At number 11, the Knicks need offense, and who's sitting at the top of the draft board? The best shooter in this draft class, and AJ Griffin. Griffin would space the floor for players like RJ Barrett and Julius Randle, and I really think his offensive prowess is exactly what the Knicks need to get back to contending for a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. The Oklahoma City Thunder are back on the board at number 12, and I think they're going to continue to try and build that front court around Chet Holmgren. You're going to have to scroll a little bit here, but I really like Jeremy Sochan, a freshman out of Baylor. Even though he didn't participate at the Combine, I was shocked by Sochan's size. He's one of the best defenders in this draft class, and he's really capable of guarding every position 1 through 5. If he can fine-tune that jump shot, he'll be one of the best 3-and-D players, and his ceiling will raise significantly. At number 13, there always seems to be that match made in heaven on mock drafts, and that's what we see here with the Charlotte Hornets and Duke center Mark Williams. Mark Williams is one of the best shot blockers in the country. He brings a ton of energy to the offensive glass, and he's a terrorizing lob threat to pair with LaMelo Ball. It really feels like this is a can't-miss opportunity for the Charlotte Hornets, who desperately need a true center. Last but not least, to round out the lottery, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to select MALAKI BRANHAM, a freshman out of Ohio State. Darius Garland shouldered way too heavy of an offensive load, and they're already loaded with big men up front. So the Cavaliers desperately need a pure scorer of Branham's caliber who can score from all three levels of the floor, and he has a smooth shooting stroke. It's an added bonus that Branham grew up in Columbus, Ohio, keeping him in his home state. For more NBA draft analysis and coverage, you can check out our full mock draft over on sportingnews.com.